Om Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kuru Me Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada. Om Shri Mahaganapataye Namaha. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Asmad Gurubhyo Namaha. Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavadpadam Shankaram Lokashankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Kritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Ishvaro Gurur Atmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavad Vyapta Dehaya Dakshina Murtaye Namaha Shri Medha Dakshina Murti Swamine Namaha Om Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunakto Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om. Namaste once again all of you. We are seeing the most crucial subject of the entire Vedanta study, and that is about Atma. That's why it's called Atma Jnana or Brahma Jnana, because the word Atma and Brahman are same. I mean, they mean the same in the sense that at the individual level, we say it Atma. At the total level, we call it Brahman. But the principle behind both these words is the same. So the student asked, what is this Atma? And the teacher said, Satchidananda Swarupaha. And then the student asked, Sat Kim, Chit Kim, and Ananda Kim. So that he explained very briefly. But before going into further details, we started understanding what is this Chit aspect first. Chit means pure consciousness, as I told you. And we have to understand that it is this consciousness which makes this entire world run. Entire prapancha function, including our body, mind, sense complex. They are functioning because they are powered by this consciousness. Atma or consciousness alone, or consciousness principle you can call it, because consciousness we cannot objectify. It's a principle. We just have to, we can't visualize consciousness, but we can understand or experience the consciousness through the sentiency of all living beings in the universe. So consciousness is the one which enlivens our body also and makes it alive. And Vedanta analyzes the nature of this consciousness, and we were seeing some of the fundamental principles which this analysis throws up. And the first lesson is that this consciousness is neither a property nor a product nor a part of the body. When we say Atma, we must understand this Atma or consciousness is not a part of the body. It is not a product of the body. And it is also not a property of the body. That we must understand. It is an independent principle. It is an invisible, independent entity which pervades the body and makes the body alive. As I said, this converts the chemistry into biochemistry. That is what the consciousness does. And we saw the example of electricity and all that. And the third lesson is that this invisible, independent consciousness is not limited or circumscribed by the confines or the boundaries of this body. it extends beyond this body also, this consciousness, because it is all pervading. So it is everywhere, rather, this consciousness. So according to Vedanta, this consciousness is boundless, it is limitless, it is dimensionless. So this is the third aspect of the consciousness which we saw in the last class. It is not limited by space. So spatially, it is limitless. And the fourth lesson we saw was that this consciousness is, it will continue to survive even after the fall of this body. Because the existence of the consciousness is not dependent on the existence of the body. On the contrary, existence of the body is depending on existence of the consciousness. The body is sentient because of the consciousness. It is because of the consciousness that we get the name Ganapathy, or whatever names we have got, Otherwise, once this consciousness leaves this body, we don't refer to this body or he or she, we refer to it. Just think what we do. When a dead body, we say it is it. Till yesterday, when that person was alive, you were calling him, he or she was alive, we were calling him by some name and we were seeing he or she. But when the consciousness has left that and it becomes a dead body, we say, take it away. Go and burn it. That is the reality that we know, but we don't recognize it. Without that consciousness, this body is just a log of, like a log of wood, rather, only worth burning, putting to fire or bury, whatever, depending upon the culture, we can do it, but it is useless. In fact, it should be, it is so dangerous that body, when the consciousness has left, it should be disposed of as quickly as possible, because it will very quickly rot and in fact spread lots of infections. That is actually the nature of this body, which we all do all sorts of makeup and things like that and all, and we celebrate this body. There is nothing to be celebrated about this body. It is a bundle of flesh, blood and bones. That's it. In fact, Adi Shankara in Bhajagovindam, uses so many words for this body, that the attachment to the body should go away. All our problems are because of this, attachment with this body. And as we discussed in one of the earlier classes, what gives, attachment gives to desires, desires gives leads to all sorts of problems. Okay. So the fourth lesson is that even though the body, which is a medium in which the consciousness resides, in order to undertake all the transaction with the external world, when this medium vanishes, dies, consciousness still survives. It is always there. So it is timeless also. Earlier we said it is not limited by space. Now we are saying, fourth lesson, it is not limited by time also. It is eternal. And that consciousness is our real nature, our real I. So we are also not limited by time. We are also not limited by space, in terms of our true nature. Body, mind, sense complex, limited by time, limited by space, everything is there. But we are not the body. That's what Vedanta is trying to teach us. And we saw that shloka from Bhagavad Gita also, na jayate mriyate va kadachit, all that. And the last lesson, fifth lesson which we saw was that once the consciousness leaves this body, it cannot be recognized. It cannot be contacted. No transaction can be undertaken with that consciousness. Not because it is not present. Consciousness is present, but the medium through which the consciousness was interacting, that medium is gone. Like if the bulb is fused, you will not know whether there is electricity or electricity is not there. In fact, you cannot even make out that the bulb is fused because it is dark. Similarly, when the consciousness leaves this body, it becomes untransactable. I don't know whether that's a correct word. not unrecognizable and not transactable. So these are the ones these are the lessons we saw. So even after death, this Atma, this aspect of Atma, that is the consciousness aspect of Atma, the Chit aspect of Atma survives. And that is why he said Chit Swarupaha. Right? Means the nature of consciousness. So first is Atma, one aspect of Atma is it is of the nature of consciousness. And the word Atma, interestingly, in Sanskrit means I. It refers to the self. So by actually equating this Atma with this consciousness, what the author wants us to do is to claim this consciousness as the I and stop claiming this body, mind, sense complex as I. That is what the author wants us to understand and claim. What are you? I am consciousness. I am Aham Atma. I am consciousness. Aham Chit Swarupaha. That is what it says, right? So we should train our mind, train ourselves to think in terms of claiming this consciousness I. Whenever we say I am, in our mind, we need not go and profess this to the entire world. Nobody will understand. They will say, you've gone mad. This fellow, something has happened. 4 Vedanta classes he attended and he started blabbering now. What will happen if he attends 40 classes? He will have to be sent to some asylum only. That is what generally people will say. So you don't, Vedanta is not for showing off to people. Vedanta is your own individual spiritual journey for your own understanding, for your own moksha. By showing off to people that I know so much of Vedanta and all, you are not going to get moksha. So Vedanta is purely a self, what you can say, pursuit. So this is all meant for us. So whenever we are studying this, whenever I say I, what I should understand about that word I is that I am referring to my consciousness. I am not referring to this body mind complex. That is what we have to understand. Okay. And for this, to understand that I, the consciousness, am temporarily residing in this body for carrying out whatever transactions this body needs to carry out. Because you remember, when we come to the karma topic later on, all karmas, punya papas, they are related to this body-mind complex. Consciousness has got no punya papa. Because consciousness does not do any karma. It is just presence. In the presence of consciousness, this body undertakes lot of actions, lot of activities. And the punya papa starts accumulating to this body. Now, this body has to exhaust that punya papa. Otherwise, it will keep on getting born again and again and again. And the consciousness will be like, I remember initially when the people from South, they came to North, Delhi and all, I'm talking about just after Second World War, in the 40s, late 40s and 50s. With the exception of even maybe even people who are in government service, in the initial stages, they will rent a house. Then after some time, the landlord will increase the rent. So if they can't afford to pay the rent, they will go for another house. So they will keep on moving till they either buy their own house or they will get government quarters or something like that from which they will not be removed. So this consciousness also, like those people, will go on from one body to another body to another body to keep on doing this. Because that bodies have to exhaust their karmas. And only when the karmas are exhausted can the body get moksha in the sense of freedom from rebirth. So this is the relationship between the consciousness and the body. Even though there is no actual attachment, consciousness independent of the body, it is in the presence of consciousness only this body, mind, sense complex can do all their activities. So what we have to understand is, if we understand ourselves as the consciousness, we will understand we don't have any death at all. We are eternal. But if we understand ourselves as the body, mind, sense complex, we can talk about birth, death, and all those things. Okay. So this body may disappear, all my physiological systems may disappear, all my Sukshma Sharira may disappear, but I, the consciousness, will ever survive. I am eternal. Okay. So this is how we have to understand this. And to claim this consciousness as I, Bhagavan Krishna gives a technique in Bhagavad Gita. This method is called Drik Drishya Viveka. We actually started this topic with an introduction, what the author is trying to, what kind of a logic he was trying to explain to us, in order to understand that I am not this body, mind, sense complex. In technical terms, in Vedantic terms, it is called Drik Drishya Viveka. Drik means the seer. The person who sees is Drik. Drishya means the what is seen. Viveka means the discrimination. So what Bhagavan Krishna says is that if you are able to see something, if you are able to experience something, understand that is not you. Because there has got to be a seer and there has got to be an object which is to be seen. So if you are able to see an object and you say, I can see this object, I can experience this object, that means you are not the object, you are the seer. So the way the logic applies is, everything you ask this question, is this, I am seeing this or it is me? If the answer is I am seeing this, that means it is an object and you are not that. Or I am experiencing this, is it you? If I am experiencing it, it is not me. Because I, the experiencer, cannot be the experience also. I am the subject. And the subject always experiences, sees the object. So if I am not the object, what I can be? I am the subject. So Drik here is the subject and Drishya is object of this entire world. So as I gave you that example of flask and all that in the last class, if we experience something, we are not that. Like a pen or whatever, any example you can think. Now, if we apply this principle and start negating everything that we experience, we will be left with only I. Isn't it? Which is the subject of the experience and not the object of experience. So when I say, I am not the clock, I am not the laptop, I am not the computer, I am not the, what is that, pen, I am not the table, which means what? I am not none of these. So I am there. That is the Drik, I am there. So everything that we experience, we have to question, is this a subject of experience or object of experience? If it is the object of experience, then it is not the subject. So I am not that. I am the experiencer. And this methodology in Sanskrit, in Vedanta, is called Neti Neti methodology. or neti neti prakriya. Neti means na iti, not this, not this, not this. Are you this? I am not this. Why? Because I can experience this. This is the object of my experience. So I am not this. Like that, you go on negating everything that is there in the universe. What will be you be left with? Only this I, this body, mind, sense complex. That is what you will be left with, because every external object you can easily negate without any problem. Isn't it? Nobody says, I am a tree. If he says, I am a tree, then he has got a problem. Right? So, because some people, they have got these kind of hallucinations. There is a joke which I don't know whether I remember it fully. One fellow went to a psychiatrist and said that, I feel I am a cat. I feel I am a cat. So the doctor said, so what if you feel you are a cat? So whenever I go out, all the dogs chase me, thinking that I am a cat. So then he said, okay, now I understand your problem. I will treat you. So after some time and all that, he was treated, and he became convinced that he is not a cat, that he is a human being. Then he started going out, and still the dogs were chasing him, right? And then he came back to the psychiatrist. He said, no, the problem has not gone. Even when I go out now, the dogs are chasing me. So the psychiatrist said, but now you have already understood that you are not a cat, that you are a human being. Now, why should the dogs chase you? He says, that I know that I am not a cat, but the dogs don't know that. They still think I am a cat and they are chasing me. So similarly, in our case also, we can negate everything else. But when it comes to our body, mind, sense complex, question is this an object of experience or it is the experiencer? That is the question. And that is the crucial question Vedanta tries to answer. And it is the most difficult area because of our past orientation, because of our thinking, the way we are thinking, and because of, I told you, the nearness to that Atma, which is there which is available in our intellect for recognition. Because of the proximity, we misunderstand this body, mind, sense complex as I. And we miss this particular point, that this body, mind, sense complex also is an object of our experience. This is a rented house in which I am living. This house is not mine. It is something different from me. It is where I live. This is what we have to understand, right? So similarly, our mind, we experience our mind, we experience our intellect, we experience our digestive system, we experience our circulatory system. Whatever in our body, mind, sense complex we experience, we can understand that is not me. When you negate that also, that this is not me, circulatory system is not me, my stula sharira is not me, my sukshma sharira is not me, my karana sharira is not me. When you negate all that, what are you? Who am I? Only answer, I am consciousness. The consciousness, which is the experiencer, because of which all these experiences become possible. If this consciousness is not there, none of these experiences will be possible. Even there will be no circulatory system, no reproductive system, no digestive system, no system in our body will function without this consciousness. I, the consciousness, make all this function. I, the Atma, make all this function. I am the experiencer, the witness. In fact, we can't even use the word experiencer, because experiencer also connotes some sort of a action. So that's why Vedanta, is very careful. It doesn't even call it experiencer. It only says witness, sakshi. It witnesses all these blesses, all these activities. The consciousness blesses and witnesses all these activities. That is why even in Sukshma Sharira, sorry, in Sushupti Avastha, when we are in deep sleep state, this consciousness is witnessing that state of happiness and ignorance is bliss state. This consciousness witnesses. And that is why when we wake up, we know there is a knowledge somewhere that I had a good sleep. It is because of this. That is why he said, Jnana Swarupa. Jnana means knowledge. All knowledge is which goes into our intellect is made possible because of this consciousness, this chit aspect of our Swarupa. So this is the neti drik drishya viveka and neti logic, which is to be applied. So whenever we say I am happy now, I am sad now, I am restless now, that I does not refer to this consciousness. That I refers to our body, mind, sense complex. Because for consciousness, there no action is possible. For doing any action, what we require parts. We can do, this body can do all action because of the different parts it has got, isn't it? Consciousness has no part, so it can't undertake any action. It can only bless. So whenever we are saying, I am Ganapathy or my name is Ganapathy, I am referring to this body-mind complex. That is okay. Vyavaharika taya, that is okay in terms of our transactions. But in our mind, I should say, we must remember that this name I am telling is actually not my name. It is the name of my body in which I am residing. That is how we have to keep on, meditating upon that, even when with our eyes open. Because this knowledge, it has to sink in. Unless you are going to recall this knowledge on every opportunity, it is not going to happen. In fact, there is a special sadhana called Nididhyasanam, which is prescribed in Vedanta. After you complete all the Vedanta studies and become that this Atma, the Atma is of the nature of conscious, of nature of Satchit and Ananda. Satyam Jnanam Anantam. If that knowledge sets in our intellect without any doubt, right? Without any Shamshaya Rahita Jnana, still there will be one more obstacle for us to actually own up that knowledge and abide in that knowledge, which is our past orientation. We have been not used to thinking in these terms at all. So to start thinking, it is not going to be easy. As you know, in some management seminars and all, they demonstrate how difficult it is for us to overcome this habit, habitual thinking, or any habit rather. And to demonstrate that, what they do is, because these habits are settled in our subconscious mind. So to demonstrate, what they do is, if you are wearing the watch, I think I told you this example earlier, if you are wearing a watch in one hand, at the beginning of the session, they will ask you to change the hand where you are wearing the watch. And if you are wearing on the left hand, then they say you remove it and put it on your right hand. And if you are wearing it in the right hand, they will say remove it and put it on your left hand. Because that is the hand in which, habitually we have been wearing our watch. And then the session will go on. At the end of the session, what will happen is everybody, they will ask you now, see where your watch is. The watch will be there where it was in the original hand. During the course of this seminar or whatever period, people have unconsciously removed that watch and put it in the correct hand where they used to wear it. This is what is the power of this subconscious mind. They don't even realize that they are doing it. Subconsciously, they do that. Like that, I am this body, mind, sense complex is ingrained in our subconscious. What we have to do is, I am Satchidananda Swarupaha, I am Satchidananda Swarupaha. This thinking has to be pushed into the subconscious and replace that I am this body, mind, sense complex thought which is there, this vasana which is there in the subconscious. For that, Vedanta prescribes a separate sadhana, nididhyasanam. And that you can practice only when you have got doubtless knowledge. Because if you have got any doubt, and if you start doing this, then while doing it itself, you will start getting the doubt. Am I doing the right thing or am I a fool? So first of all, after Shravanam, which is actually study of the Vedas, then Mananam, which is analysis of whatever you have studied from various angles, in order to get a doubtless conviction about the knowledge which Vedanta teaches. Because many of the things with Vedanta teaches, we cannot actually see. They are all adrishta. Like Punya Papa. What? Can you see Punya Papa? You cannot see Punya. Can you see Brahman? You cannot see Brahman. Vedanta says there is Brahman. Unless you are convinced that there is Brahman. When you start for Nididhyasanam, you say, Aham Brahmasmi, Aham Brahmasmi. You say, what Brahman you are? You have never seen that Brahman. Huh? Then doubt will come and your whole meditation, Vedantic meditation. Nididhyasanam is nothing but Vedantic meditation. The whole thing will go for a toss. So that is why the entire study of this Vedanta, first of all, you have to listen, gather the knowledge. After gathering the knowledge, analyze that knowledge, both from a logical point of view, because whatever Vedanta says may not be logical, but whatever Vedanta says will never be illogical. You cannot prove it either way. If it is not logical, if it is illogical, you can dismiss it. But if it is not illogical, you have to accept it. There is a possibility that will be there. Then you make further analysis how to logically prove that possibility. And then finally, you use Tarka, there are different tools are used. Nyaya Shastra, that is Tarka Shastra and all that. It is used. And then come to the conclusion that what the Vedanta says is true. If it is not true, then there will not be answers to so many questions which are there. Then once you get that knowledge, Samshaya Rahita Jnanam, then you go into this meditation, Nididhyasanam, to get rid of this past orientation, this habitual thinking, what is called Viparyaya. So in order to remove this obstacle, the biggest obstacle of this Viparyaya, this habitual thinking, you do this Nididhyasana in Vedanta, which is a Vedantic meditation. Okay. So it is because of this consciousness principle, the Sakshi Chaitanyam, that we know everything. And we also know what we don't know. Both this concept, because not that I don't know something is also a knowledge. Isn't it? What I know, I know. What I don't know, also I know that I don't know. That's also knowledge only. So this consciousness, when we say Jnana Swarupaha, it has both the aspects of, Bhava Sakshi and Abhava Sakshi also. It is witness to both what is there and what is not there. The presence and absence of everything. Even blankness, this consciousness is Sakshi. Sometimes we say, I was writing my examination, my mind went blank. How do you know? If your mind has gone blank, like the hard disk of a computer crashing, how would you know that it has gone blank? Because the blankness has to be experienced by the mind only. The mind itself is not, it has gone blank. It is this consciousness which makes you understand that the mind has gone blank. So this consciousness is Sakshi to presence of thoughts in the mind and absence of thoughts also in the mind. So this is how we have to understand as Jnana Swarupa Atma. So Chit is equated to Jnana. Now let us understand the other two words, Sat and Ananda. So we have seen that when the consciousness leaves the body, the consciousness does not die when the body dies. That we have seen, right? It is eternally present. It was present in the past, present now, and it will always be present in the future. The body comes and goes, arrives and departs and all that, but not the consciousness. And this eternal existence of this consciousness in Sanskrit is called Satyam. Sat means existence. So, consciousness being eternal, the same consciousness is given another name called Sat. So, when you say Chit, automatically the Sat walks in. The pure existence, which never ever becomes non-existent, that Sat walks in. And that is what when he said, Kalatraye api tishtati iti Sat. If you remember what the author said. When he says Sat kim, Chit kim, Ananda kim, kaha, he said Sat is Kalatraye api tishtati. Kalatraya means 3 periods of time. Kala means time, Traya means 3. So 3 periods of time. What is that? Past, present and future. Tishtati means which exists, which is there. So this consciousness is of the nature of existence also, Sat also. So Sat eva Chit, Chit eva Sat. Existence is consciousness and consciousness is existence. They cannot be separated at all. So, from a Sat aspect also, can we say our body-mind complex exists in all 3 periods of time? We cannot say that, isn't it? Before this body was born, this body did not exist. After the date of death, this body is not going to be exist. So I cannot be this body-mind complex because I am Sat, I am Chit. So how can I be this body or body-mind sense complex? I cannot be that. That's another way of understanding. I am Chit Swarupaha, I am Sat Swarupaha also. That is how we have to understand, right? And while studying earlier, we saw that this Atma, one of the lessons, this Atma, this consciousness is not bound by the boundaries of this body, mind, sense complex. That it is boundless, spatially boundless, limitless, all pervading. And in Sanskrit, this all pervading principle is called Anantaha. Anantaha means, Antaha means end. That which has got an end. Ananta means that which has got, does not have any end. That means what? Limitless, unlimited. That is Ananta. Okay. So Ananta or Ananta means boundless, limitless. Or to use another Vedantic expression, Purnaha, complete. Because what is incomplete only you can keep adding it. What is incomplete is will always be limited. So in order to make it complete, you can go on adding. But whereas if you are limitless, you are full, there is nothing more to add to that. So that is Ananta. Purnaha, you can call it. Okay. And this Purnaha, this experience of Purnaha, this experience of limitlessness is what is happiness, Ananda. And this we can experience whenever we feel limited by anything in our life. Limited means that we do not have that and we have a desire to acquire that. So that desire in our mind creates a limitation, incompleteness in our mind for that particular object. Now suppose you acquire that object, you possess that object of your desire. What happens? For a moment, that incompleteness goes away and that particular desire in your mind for that particular object becomes complete, Purnaha. When that happens, you experience happiness, Ananda. So we think that the Ananda is in that object, but actually the Ananda is within ourselves when we become Purnaha. As I gave you the example of in the last class, the dog biting the bone. This again we have to understand that it is limitlessness which is Anantaha eva Anandaha. Limitlessness, what is happiness about? So if you want to be very happy in your life, start limiting all your desires. I don't have desire for anything. That is why Vairagyam is one of the important sadhanas one has to practice in Vedanta. If you have no desires, you have no limitations, you have no incompleteness. If you remember one of the earlier classes, I gave you one story of an ordinary person and one Mahatma. Both drew a circle. One saw the circle as Shunyaha and another one saw the circle as Purnaha. When you understand and become Purnaha in your life, eternal happiness is guaranteed. The moment any desire for anything comes up in our mind, it is a risk situation. If the desire is not fulfilled, you are back to samsara. You are back to all dukkha experiences. You are back to all sorrows, miseries, and all that. The stronger the desire, the stronger will be the misery or sorrow. So what is the way? The Vedanta says, when you understand that you are Purnaha, you are Anantaha or Ananda Swarupaha, then all these desires will automatically fall away. I don't need anything in my life to be happy because I am happy with my own self. Atmani eva atmana tushtaha. I am very happy with my own self in whatever state I am there. I don't require anything to be happy. If certain things come to me which makes my life, my body, mind, sense complex comfortable, welcome. I am not going to say no to it. But if the body, mind, sense complex is suffering, it is their karma, because the karma is that belong to them, not to me. Let them suffer. Let them exhaust those karmas by suffering. I am not going to, I am indifferent to all this. I am indifferent to suffering. I am indifferent to any happiness also. This is what Krishna keeps on telling again and again about a, a jnani, sitaprajna. Okay. So this is what is anantaha evam ananta. Limitlessness is what is ananda swarupaha. So when we are full, we are purnaha, we are complete. It is expressed in the name in the form of happiness. When we are incomplete, it is expressed in the form of sorrow or unhappiness, limitation. So we are limitless. I don't miss anything in my life. I don't lack anything in my life. Who says that? It's not the body. Body has got lot of requirements. Mind has got lot of requirements. Mind gets bored if it is studying Vedanta for 1 hour. Then it wants some change, some music or some other thing, some TV serial the mind wants. Isn't it? Because some entertainment is necessary in life, my dear. People say that. So mind wants varieties. I don't want anything. If mind wants varieties, let the mind go and seek those varieties. And the mind will suffer also because of that. Mind will see some serial where some big problem between some mother-in-law, daughter-in-law is going on. The mind will start analyzing why people behave like that. Arey Baba, those people are behaving like that because the author who wrote that script has actually scripted that way. Now you sit here, watch the TV serial and start debating why this person is doing this, why that person is doing this. This is what is the problem of the mind. So if mind wants to indulge, let it indulge. I am not going to indulge in anything. This detachment, this space, distance, when we develop, we become a jnani. Vedanta is all about developing this distance between ourselves, our real self, and our self, which we have taken it to be ourselves. Creating this distance. Once you create that distance, because in olden times, they had these forts. These kings and all will be having big forts. And what they will do, they will actually dig a big moat around that fort. Moat means a water body. And there will be big sharks and all in that, so that enemy cannot come and approach the fort wall and climb that wall. Only entry and exit will be the gates, which will be heavily guarded. Why? Because the city, the fourth city, is distanced from the enemies through this moat. So that distance have to be created. And we have to, of course, we need not fill it with the distance with a crocodile and alligators and all that. But we must be conscious of that distance. So that is how, Vedanta takes us and helps us to create that distance between our real self and what we have taken or misunderstood as our real self. Okay. This is what Lord Krishna also says. Prajahati yada kaman sarvan partha manogatan atmani eva atmana tushtaha stita prajnastadochyate. He says, hey Arjuna, when one thoroughly or completely casts off all the cravings, cravings of what? Cravings of the mind, manogatan, kaman sarvan manogatan, the cravings of the mind, and is satisfied with his own self through the joy of the self. He enjoys himself. I don't need anything to enjoy. I am just happy sitting in one place, closing my eyes. I am with myself. That's why many of these people, meditation and all that is what they advise actually. Remove all thoughts from your minds. It's not possible. How to make the mind blank? So bring one thought and repeat that thought. That's how the technique of meditation works now. Okay. So that person is called a Sthita Prajna, who is of steady mind, of steady nature, who is happy with his own self. So what we have to do, we have to actually work towards getting rid of this sense of incompleteness. Because incompleteness always expresses itself as a desire in our mind. We don't have a house, we don't have grandchildren, we don't have this, we don't have that. I don't have I don't have good health. That's also all there in the mind only, right? So this gives rise to wants, and as long as we are a wanting person, we will never ever be happy. So freedom from this limitation, the feeling of limitation, is called Purnatvam, where we have a complete feeling of contentment, where we want nothing more, we miss nothing. And this is what is referred to as moksha or liberation. As I keep telling, moksha is not something that, you have to travel to some place and all that. Moksha is a state of your mind where you are totally feeling complete in all respects in your life. Okay. And this is what is referred to as moksha, as I said. And thus this Atma is Sat Swarupa hai, Chit Swarupa hai, and Ananda Swarupa hai. Knowing this and abiding in this is what is called moksha. And the author concludes, Evam Sachidananda Swarupam Swatmanam Vijaniyat. May you know. Evam, in this manner, Swatmanam Vijaniyat. May you recognize the Atma. May you know the Atma as yourself, which is Sachidananda Swarupa, the eternal, all-pervading, invisible inner essence. This definition you must never forget. I. That I stands for this eternal, all-pervading, invisible, inner essence. That is what is this I. And what, in order to assimilate this reality, one has to do a lot of contemplation. Anyhow, this is how author has defined the Atma also. So this completes the second major topic of Tattva Bodha. First was Sadhana Chatushtayam, we saw the preparatory things, whatever eligibility for coming. Then the second was Vyashti Vichara, the analysis of the microcosm, the analysis of the individual, both from what we can see and experience and what we cannot see and experience. So the 11 anatmas, we saw in great detail what those 11 anatmas were, and also we saw what is Atma. And the end of this second chapter, the lesson that we have learned is that my real nature is I am Atma, I am none of the anatmas. That Atma is my real nature. That is the lesson that take away from this second lesson. Okay. Now we move to the third lesson. Third lesson is called Samashti Vichara. Samashti means total, the macrocosm. And Vedanta actually analyzes this macrocosm, this totality, this creation, what we call this creation also very deeply, rather very, very analytically, it describes. But of course, the Vedantic analysis is not like a scientific analysis, because Vedanta does not go into areas which are not required from the Vedanta perspective. Even when we talk of creation, so in Vedanta is concerned, it goes only into the principles of creation. rather than seeing whether man evolved from a monkey or a donkey or anything. Because when you see many people, we can easily dismiss this that Darwinian theory that man evolved from monkey, because we think we are seeing that they are behaving like donkeys. So those people at least must have evolved from donkeys only and not monkeys. So what I'm just saying is just a aside rather. So Vedanta doesn't go into all that kind of analysis and all, which if you think about it, what is the purpose of knowing that whether you from where you evolved and all that? Vedanta feels but only thing that you must know your real nature. But that is what is going to give you moksha. By knowing that whether you are from monkey or donkey is not going to give you moksha. In fact, it may create more incompleteness in you. Oh, I don't know this, I didn't know that. It will create more and more samsaritvam in you. So Vedanta analyzes this entire cosmos, this entire creation from 24 creation principles. It calls it Chaturvimshati Tattva Utpatti Prakaram. Chaturvimshati means 24. Tattva is principle. Utpatti means creation. Prakaram is methodology. So Vedanta talks about this entire creation in terms of 24 principles. That is what will be dealt with in the third chapter, which we will be seeing it. Okay. It is also called Srishti Vicharaha. Like the earlier one was called Vyashti Vicharaha. This is called Srishti Vicharaha. Srishti means creation. Okay. Because as I said, we have to remember Vedanta is establishing or understanding the relationship between three entities: Jiva, Jagat, and Ishvara. The whole Vedanta is about understanding this. And the culmination of that understanding is that there is actually in reality no difference between Jiva, Jagat, and Ishvara. All are the same Satchidananda principle. That is the conclusion of Vedanta. There is no difference at all. If at all we are observing any difference, if at all we are experiencing any differences, it is all because of the Nama and Rupa. The shapes and forms are different. In essence, everything is the same. This is what Vedanta teaches. Okay. So it's almost time now. I think we will say the prayers and take any questions, and I will start the next chapter from the next class. Okay. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Guruji. Thank you so much.
Questions we can address them.
Thank you. Namaskar.
Namaskaram.
Thank you, Raghuji. Namaskaram.
Guruji.
Thank you, Guruji.
For this consciousness and subconsciousness.
Sorry?
Consciousness and subconsciousness.
Yeah.
Now, what is sleepwalking? Is it subconscious?
What is what?
Sleepwalking.
Sleepwalking. Sleepwalking is
subconscious?
subconscious. See, consciousness doesn't do any action. Consciousness is just present. Sleepwalking is a subconscious activity rather. We must difference between conscious and consciousness.
Okay.
So they are not the same. Consciousness is a principle.
Okay.
The what you can call quality of being, nature of being consciousness, consciousness. So conscious, subconscious, sleepwalking or whatever it is, all those kind of things, even dreams are from subconscious. Dreams are all based upon vasanas which are there in our subconscious. So that is what get projected as dreams.
Thank you.
Any other question?
Thank you.
Namaskaram.
Namaskaram.
Thank you. Namaskaram. Sulekha ji, no question today.
I have a comment.
No questions
See, when
today.
we are talking about
Yes, Ari ji.
when we are talking about consciousness and action, it is repeatedly told in Vedanta that consciousness is inactive. It makes the other thing active.
Active.
Yeah, it by itself it is inactive.
Correct.
It doesn't participate in any. It is a witness of all
That's all.
action.
Yeah, it's a principle.
Yeah, it is a life principle.
Yeah, it's a life principle. In the presence of consciousness only, everything, this
Can act.
entire world functions,
Yeah.
including our body-mind complex.
By itself, it is inactive.
By itself, it is akarta. Akarta, abhokta, it is.
Yeah.
Neither a actor nor neither a enjoyer, rather. I mean,
Yeah.
it is akarta, abhokta.
Abhod.
Yeah.
I have a question, Guruji.
Yes, please.
I think I have asked you this question earlier during the same, during Tattva.
I hope I remember the answer. If I give you a different answer, then you will say this.
No. No,
Right.
it's not. No, I think, it is when everything is Atma or everything is Paramatma, everything is consciousness, then what are the sentient things? What is the body-mind? Body-mind is not Atma. Body-mind is separate from Atma. Then what is body and body-mind made of? It's a
We'll come to that. That next chapter is going to deal with that only. This 24, this Chaturvimshati Utpatti Prakara is going to talk about the entire creation, including what our body, mind, sense complex is made of. So we will see that in detail in the next few classes, what this creation is all about. Because our body is also a part of the creation, right?
Right.
At this point in time, the only thing that we have understood is this body-mind complex is not Atma, so it is Anatma. That's all. That is the only thing we have understood. What it is not, we have understood. But what really has been made, how this body-mind complex, it's a beautiful chapter. This Srishti Vichara is a beautiful chapter. In fact, I have prepared some charts also, in order to explain, because some of the aspects of this are could be very, very involved and very confusing rather. So I will show you those charts. In fact, I will circulate those charts also. All these, how like a flow chart, like, from where what is done and all that. And we will do that. It's a very interesting, according to me, the most interesting part of this Tattva Bodha is this Srishti Vichara. Of course, the Aikya Vichara also is important, because the next chapter where we are talking about the oneness of the totality and the individuality, the oneness of the Jiva and the Ishvara, right? Oneness of the microcosm and macrocosm, how we establish that oneness, on what basis? Because when we say Ishvara, we say Ishvara is all powerful. When we take our body-mind complex, our powers are very limited. Now, how can the two be the same? How can you equate the same question, logical question? So how do we actually arrive at that equation of Aham Brahmasmi or Tattvamasi is discussed in the 4th chapter, which is Aikya Vichara. We will.
I have a question.
Yes.
Thank you.
An extension of what Mr. Hari said. Consciousness per se is inactive.
Yes.
And you said it is Akarta and Abhokta.
Yes.
Is that, if I have got it correctly?
Yeah.
So we all, many times we say conscious decision. What
Yeah.
does a conscious decision come in there?
That's what I told
means-
you. We
that
have to
means
differentiate between what we say conscious and what we say consciousness. Whenever we
Right.
add the
right.
word ness,
It's a
it is
principle.
it indicates a quality of a thing. It is not a activity.
That's the thing. Yeah.
We say potness. Potness is the quality of being of a pot. Potness is not pot. So consciousness is what makes the conscious. Conscious, when we say, normally we refer to conscious means sentience, right?
Right.
I am conscious. I am unconscious.
Awareness.
Awareness. That is what we say. But that awareness is sitting where? That awareness is sitting in our mind, body-mind complex. So whenever we are actually referring to the word conscious, I am consciously doing this means I am applying my mind and my intellect in this particular activity. That is what we mean, correct? In order to do that consciously, we require consciousness. In order for that mind and the intellect to function, we require the consciousness.
Yeah, I've understood. What I mean is, the difference is the conscious as we use in the normal lingo and the conscience as we use in Vedanta are two different things.
Yes, yes. There are two different things. In fact, see, all this problem comes, why? Because we try to translate these words into English. And the language limitation, English does not have the kind of, vocabulary which Sanskrit has got. In Sanskrit, we will never ever do all these, say all these things. When we try to translate, we catch hold of the nearest English equivalent word and we translate it.
Right.
That's the problem. Because there are so many things. We use the word conscious. We use the word subconscious. We use the word conscience. S-C-I-N-C-E, conscience. My conscience doesn't permit me to do this. What is that conscience? Can you define conscience? It only means that my culture, my upbringing, my beliefs, my values, they do not allow me to do that particular thing. That is what it means. For that, we use the word conscience. So all these words are in English. When we speak, there will be a lot of confusion. Conscious, unconscious, subconscious.
If it is
if I may
not
say-
translated to English,
Ah.
then it is difficult. What is the Sanskrit word for the consciousness?
Chit, Chaitanyam.
Chit. Chaitanya.
Chaitanyam. Chit.
No, consciousness, that is awareness, is Chaitanya. Guruji.
See, awareness, there are two things. What
Refers
makes
to body
awareness
mind.
possible and what is awareness? There are two things, right? So awareness is knowledge. What makes that knowledge possible is Chitta.
Chitta.
Unless
In-
Chitta has got that power of that awareness, it cannot make things known.
Like in some of the literatures, it is the Atma or the Chitta is also compared to sunlight. Sunlight itself doesn't make
Exactly.
anything
Yeah,
It just
exactly.
doesn't take part
Without
in-
sunlight, we can't see anything. Sunlight itself doesn't do anything to see, make us see.
It is presence a lot of things.
Exactly, absolutely. That's an example even Vedanta gives. Sunlight example is given in Vedanta. That because of
And
the
somewhere they have referred to it as super consciousness in some of the literatures for the
yeah, all gurus and all will come up with their, because you see the problem in our life is we don't want to accept that we are all the same. We always want to know that we are different from others. So one guru wants to be different from other gurus, so he will come up with super consciousness, this word, that. In Vedanta, there are no such vocabulary of super conscious, super chit and all that. Parama chit and all. Correct. Yes, Parama Atma is there. So Paramatma, that word, if you they say Atma is consciousness, Parama is super, so super consciousness, Paramatma. They can say that.
Yeah, that's that way.
That way you can say, but it doesn't mean anything. Because what Vedanta says, there is no difference between Jivatma and Paramatma. There is only one Atma. So the word super is a comparative expression. When there is only one, where is the question of comparison? Isn't it?
Can we,
There is only Atma. But Vedanta, in order to differentiate, I think I explained this in one of the question answer sessions earlier also. In order to differentiate at the learning level, at the level of our learning, in order to differentiate between the individual and the total, uses these words Jivatma, Paramatma. Actually, a Jnani knows there is no Jivatma, Paramatma, there is only Atma. That is what is the ultimate knowledge we have to acquire.
I have got
Until
a
then,
question.
until then, we'll be
Until
playing
then, we
with
have
these
to
words.
keep using all these words and then discard all these words. Like what we do in mathematics, let x be so and so. Then in the end, what we will do, that x effect we will remove and then come to the solution in algebraic equations and all. Similarly, we will use all these things and in the end, we will neti, this is not what I am, I am Atma. Yes, Sariji.
Can we say that the body-mind complex, which is Jada, is active, or I mean, is only because of the blessings of Paramatma, of the Supreme God?
No, Paramatma at this stage we can say yes, Paramatma, Supreme God. But what is Paramatma? Consciousness only. See, these words which we use, like the word Vishnu. When we use the word Vishnu, this I am explaining it. My tomorrow class I will explain Vishnu Sahasranam. The word Vishnu is from a dhatu called Vish in Sanskrit. And Vish means Vyapane, pervading. So the word Vishnu literally means in Sanskrit, the one who is all pervading. And who is all pervading? According to what we saw today, consciousness.
Atma.
Right? Chit, Chaitanya. So Vishnu, when we say, we must understand that it is referring to the consciousness principle. But whereas what has happened, when the moment we say Vishnu, we imagine some Changa Chakra Gadadhari and all that kind of a thing, you know, with Lakshmi in one consort in one side. This is our orientation. And we will sit before one photo of the Vishnu an artist has made, and then we will do Vishnu Sahasranama. Isn't it? We have to overcome that orientation. That is quite okay at this stage. I'm not saying that is not correct. But from that understanding of Vishnu being a super God, we have to move towards understanding that what we mean by Vishnu is nothing but all pervading consciousness. Because the word Vishnu itself means that only. Word Vishnu does not mean this Shanga Chakra Gadadhari. There is no such explanation for the word Vishnu.
Okay.
And that is what Adi Shankara, when he is actually written the commentary on Vishnu Sahasranamam, he brings in every nama, he brings this only. Okay. Satchidananda Swarupa of that Paramatma only he brings out. How these words, whether by by the language or by what it connotes, how it refers to that Paramatma, that is what in the whole Vishnu Sahasranama Bhashyam is all about of Adi Shankara. So when we are at this stage, as whatever in our spiritual journey stage, this Vishnu Sahasranamam, Lalita Sahasranamam, all these pujas, all that we do, all these sadhanas are very, very important, because if we do those sadhanas with our right attitude, with the karma yoga bhavana rather, then what will happen is it will give Chitta Shuddhi. And Chitta Shuddhi is what is the primary requirement for the Vedanta knowledge to go into our intellect. If the purity of the intellect and mind is not there, none of this Tattva Bodha, business, Atma Bodha will make any sense to those people. So it is just like, unless you have got a strong body with lot of muscles and all that, can you run a marathon in Olympics? If you want to run a marathon in Olympics, you have to make all preparatory for that. And the preparatory stage is all this karma yoga is preparatory for jnana yoga. That is what we have to understand. So if at our stage, when we have not become jnanis, We have not actually understood or, what I can call it, internalize this knowledge of this oneness of Jivatma and Paramatma. Till such time, we continue as Jivatmas, we continue to do all these sadhanas and, upasanas, everything, so that it will give more and more Chitta Shuddhi. And as we progress, automatically, it is like that in some films and all, they show that when the person goes, each door opens, there's some palace, big palace is there. So that some king will go, each door automatically open. Like that, this door of our intellect to absorb this knowledge will keep on opening if we continue to this sadhana with a karma yoga attitude. That's the whole spiritual journey is all about.
Very nice. Yeah.
Thank
Okay.
you. Beautiful.
Okay. We will close today.
Thank you.
And continue next Saturday. Ariyo.
Thank you. Namaskar.
Thank you.
Thank you. So very well, very explained.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thanks.
Ariyo.
One more thing, when we are talking about consciousness, there are two terms. One is pure consciousness. The other is conditioned consciousness.
Yes.
And
Paramatma and Jivatma, we have to use the two terms, right? There is nothing called conditioned consciousness. In fact, the word that Swami Paramathananda uses is original consciousness and reflected consciousness. Correct. So that is what is the
difference between, there is a difference between Jivatma and Jiva.
Jivatma and
Jivatma is Paramatma or Brahman, whereas the Jiva is what is getting affected, what is getting involved. The conditioned consciousness is translated as Jiva. It is
correct.
getting
Conditioned
involved.
Consciousness is translated as Jiva, but the conditioned consciousness is nothing but the original consciousness being reflected in the medium.
Yeah.
And
So
the reflection cannot be the reality, isn't it?
Yeah, true. Very true. Very
Exactly.
true. Very true.
That is what it is.
Just take the reflection of sun based
Like
on
the
the
reflection
reflecting
of the sun,
medium,
I gave you that
which
example.
is our
The
body.
reflection of the sun. Sun is only one, but the reflection can be many.
And it gets affected, the reflection gets affected based on the reflecting medium. If it is
Depending upon the reflecting medium. Exactly. Exactly. So far as the reflection is concerned, the reflection is the same in all the mediums. But how the reflection appears depends upon that particular medium.
On the medium.
Yes. If it is a glass, it will reflect. If it is a wood, it will not reflect. Isn't it?
Yeah.
Similarly, when we have to understand, if we see the
So
system,
it depends.
sorry?
In our case, our reflecting medium is our body, mind, and intellect. Depending upon our nature of our mind, the same thing, whatever is happening, I will react in one way, somebody else will react against the same thing.
Yeah.
And so it depends on our body, mind, and intellect.
See,
Or
at the Vyavaharika level, at the level of behavior, there can be differences.
Yeah.
But at the Paramarthika level, at the level of absolute reality, there is no difference. This is how we understand.
Everybody is same.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Right. Hari Om. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.